Good morning, good afternoon, good morning. What time zone am I in? Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call this meeting of the Del Mar College Board of Regents to order at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, August 11th. As a point of personal privilege, if anyone sees Mr. Scott today, you can congratulate him for the good fortune of being married to me for 42 years today. Thank you all for that. Appreciate that. I'm going to do a quorum call to establish our quorum for today. Dr. Babley, here. Regent Loeb, here. Regent Garza, here. Dr. Adami, here. Regent Averett, here. Dr. Turner, here. Regent Kelly, here. Regent Krull. Here. We have a quorum and can conduct business. I'm going to ask Dr. Babley to please lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please join us as we read our Del Mar College vision statement. Del Mar College empowers our communities to achieve their dreams. We are streaming our live audio and video from the Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with exception of portions of the meeting as may be considered closed session by statute. We have an opportunity for anyone to address the board on items not on our agenda today. Do we have any general public comment? Seeing none, we will move on with our agenda. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in a long time, we don't have staff reports. We do have a pretty good, healthy action item agenda today, but we don't have any staff reports. So looking at our pending items, thank you for bringing that up. Pending business, thank you. You'll see in September the TERS update we're doing today instead of in September. We will have an internal audit report, an AI update, and a Freedom to Dream tuition waiver annual report, and then a SACS COC report from Dr. Sambi. We're looking forward to that because we know that there's exciting things happening later this fall with our 5-year interim report. Any questions on our pending list?
Just a quick comment,
yes,
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
The AI update may be worthy of a full workshop. It's an expansive topic that we don't just want to hit the tops of the waves, and there will be a fairly robust regular agenda in September, and so we might ask for consideration for a workshop, and we'll ask very soon.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our consent agenda, we have 7 items on the consent agenda. Several of them are regular minutes and quarterly investment reports, financial reports, etc. We do have now a consent agenda item, as we previously agreed, on annexation. Whenever the City of Corpus Christi adopts or annexes property, we do that as well. And then our report and notice of proposed change to the general education curriculum. Is there anything that needs to be pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Second by Mr. Krull. Is there any public comment on consent agenda items? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. All right, moving straight into our regular agenda. We're going to start with Ms. Tammy McDonald, and is going to give us some possible action related to the RFQ for internal audit services.
Our current internal audit services contract will expire August the 31st. The college issued a request for qualifications on June the 18th for internal audit services. 8 firms, be a memo, let's see. Yeah. 8 firms submitted statements of qualifications. The RFQ Evaluation Committee reviewed submissions from all 8 firms. The members of our evaluation committee were Regent Garza, Dr. Gerald Napolis, Dr. Kathy West, and myself. The criteria that we used to evaluate for this process was technical capabilities, business capabilities, project team capabilities, and then we also looked at the references that were provided. We particularly did look at references for higher ed, were they Texas-based higher ed community college, were they Texas community colleges, so we took all of that into account. And then the evaluation committee scored and determined overall rankings for the firms. The RFQ Evaluation Committee unanimously ranked Weaver Tidwell as number 1, and we are recommending Weaver Tidwell for internal audit services. Administration seeks board action to approve Weaver Tidwell for internal audit services and to proceed with negotiating fees and engagement.
Thank you very much. Mr. Garza, do you have any comments as chair of the committee and sitting on the selection committee?
Well, I'm fortunate that I was appointed to be able to serve on the committee. I wasn't chair, but chair of the internal audit committee, but not of the evaluation committee.
Excuse me, that's what I meant. I apologize. Thank you.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to clarify, not take credit for anything that I don't deserve credit for. But no, seriously, I really appreciate the experience. Very, very impressed with the way that the procurement office operates and the manner in which they did this evaluation. I think it was really above board and fair. Nobody could have known how the scores were going to come out. But to tally all the numbers up, and we came in with about 3 points difference between the incumbent and the rest of the field. Of course, there were some that fell below that number. But I feel really, really comfortable with the work that the procurement office is doing, and I really enjoyed serving. It was a lot of work, to be honest with you. There's a lot to go through. But I was really impressed with the way they do things, and kudos to Dr. Escamilla and his folks, and David Davila, for the way they run things. Appreciate their efforts, really do.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Regent Crowell, you have a question?
More just of a comment. Has a second most qualified been identified?
We have a second most qualified, yes.
Or the reason I'm asking is if the negotiations with the first selected don't prove fruitful, you need to go to the second.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to accept the staff recommendation to proceed with negotiations with Weaver and Tidwell?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Garza. Second by Dr. Babbely. Is there any discussion on that motion? Is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have a discussion and possible action related to the order of our 2026-27 maintenance and operations budget and the debt service budget. And so we're going to start with Dr. Escamilla is going to start us out.
Well, I'll just introduce Mr. Garcia, and
Okay.
Jackie will be coming up. Mr. Garcia will be introducing the topic, and Jackie will be assisting in the presentation as we move through for the orders. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this action item requests board approval to conduct the public hearing required under Chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code for the proposed 2026-2027 operations and maintenance budget and debt service budgets. Upon board approval, the college will publish notice of the public hearing through the college's website and the Corpus Christi Caller-Times as required by law. The notice will inform the public that the hearing is scheduled for August 25th, 2026 at 11:30 at the Center for Economic Development. Next, Jackie will present an overview of the proposed 2026-2027 budget, including revisions made in response to the board's discussion and feedback received during the July 28th budget workshop. Her presentation will highlight key assumptions, priorities, and recommendations that support the college's financial plan.
Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. President, wanted to, as Raul has mentioned, talk about our slides. It's a culmination of 2 months' worth of work, but also representation of a living document, and that's why we look forward to the presentation in a few weeks. And we've highlighted and presented some of the follow-up questions from the previous meeting, and so in this 15 slides, including the title page and the question section, we want to do is provide you the information to show and reinforce the topics that we talked about and prepare for the upcoming meeting. And so the agenda is as follows. the calendar for fiscal year 2027. We'll talk about enrollment updates from Dr. Pat, the operating revenue budget and operating expense budget, debt service budget, and then questions. And so with me is a smaller team so we can discuss any of the topics here. And Ms. Jackie Landrum will start off.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Regents, Dr. Escamilla. So for our budget plan calendar, what we have left, upon board's approval, we will conduct our public hearing on August 25th, where we will seek your approval to adopt our proposed fiscal year 2027 budget and our proposed tax rates. September 1st is our deadline to approve our budget, and September 30th is the deadline to approve our tax rate. So now Dr. Benavides Dominguez will provide an enrollment update.
Thank you, Jackie. Members of the Board of Regents, you've seen this slide. This is all certified data. This slide illustrates a historical head count from fall 2020 to fall 25. Fall 25 head count, 12,098, representing a 14.6 increase. The growth here shown is from dual credit and in addition to the Freedom to Dream participants, while regular academic enrollment remains strong. This spring slide of our 2026 academic credit head count reached 11,252 students with an increase of 10.5% over spring 2025, with the highest enrollment in this 6-year period presented. Growth was again driven by dual credit enrollment, which increased to 3,268 from 3,609, and an additional 1,372 in Freedom to Dream participants. The gains demonstrate the college's success in expanding access, strengthening partnerships with local school districts, and supporting student participation through innovative enrollment initiatives. This slide is not certified because we are still in quarter 4. This slide illustrates our historic contact hours with credit and CE over the last 6 years. Total contact hours increased from 5.89 million in 2025-26 for a 9.6% increase. Again, continuing ed is still in enrollment period, so we look forward to remaining at historical levels. Now I'll turn it over back to Jackie.
Thank you. So for our revenue challenges and assumptions, our performance funding is based on the estimate provided by the coordinating board. That does reflect that 6.5% decrease for all community colleges and the methodology changes that we discussed at our last meeting. For our FAST funding, that is going to be based on historical data. For tuition and fees, we are not increasing our tuition rate in order to comply with the governor's request to ease the financial burden to our students and their families. So we have analyzed our enrollment trends and have adjusted our tuition and fees based on available data. For our property tax revenue, we have evaluated our overall tax rate. Our net valuation did decrease by that 0.68%, which is mainly contributed to the continuation of that circuit breaker and House Bill 9. So again, a reminder, House Bill 9, that increased the exemption threshold from $2,500 to $125,000 on a portion of the appraised value of business personal property. So with the rates that we are proposing, we are currently at 3.97% above the M&O no new revenue rate. Our new construction is at $535 million. And then I was able to get some information from the appraisal district on the effects of that House Bill 9, and the taxable value that became exempt due to the increase in that threshold is $574 million. So for our tax rate history, our total tax rate has increased from 0.266104 in fiscal year 2023 to .275903 in fiscal year 2026, and we are proposing to remain flat overall for fiscal year 2027. So with some of the debts rolling off and refunding those existing bonds and then accounting for the excess debt collections, we are proposing decreasing our debt service rate to .04147. For our M&O rate, we are proposing an M&O rate of .34433, keeping our overall tax rate flat at that .275903. So for a homeowner with an average homestead value of $265,490, this could result in an estimated increase in a homeowner's property tax bill from $717 to $732, which is a $15 increase. So for our proposed revenue budget, we are reducing that performance funding by that $3.4 million, bringing our budget down to $15.7 million, which is an 18% decrease from the prior year. And again, that's that overall reduction in the state's overall funding and the methodology changes. For our FAST appropriations, at our last meeting, we had a preliminary increase of $284,000. However, after further analysis, we are proposing an increase of $584,000. So we've typically earned anywhere from $2.1 to $2.4 million since that FAST program was initiated. And as you saw in our enrollment update, our dual credit enrollment continues to increase. So if we use the same methodology that the coordinating board is using for their estimate and include our CE dual enrollment, that estimate comes out to about $2.6 million. So we're remaining conservative and bringing our budget up to the $2.3 million. And that's based on that historical data. Insurance contributions is increasing by $393,000. Again, that's that 8% increase in our health insurance premiums. We are proposing a decrease in our overall tuition and fee budget by 2%, bringing it from $22.3 million to $21.9 million. For property tax revenue, we are proposing an increase of the $5 million while keeping our overall tax rate flat. Miscellaneous revenue, we are estimating an increase of $500,000, and that's due to a projected increase in our investment income. So that brings our total proposed revenue budget to $136.3 million, which is a 2% increase from last year. Now, Ms. McDonald will continue with the proposed salary and benefit increases.
So these are the options that we reviewed in our workshop in July. We do have one change, so the administration continues to recommend option 3. And it gives you for faculty, full-time faculty, it's the 1-year experience pay at the $829, and then the 3% to the schedules, the rate schedules for rank, education, and base. This cost includes promotions and summer pay. One change that we did make from the workshop to this presentation today is we are, in this amount, it will have monies to partially fund the load alignment. So this option in the recommendation will have funds, about $400,000, to fund that load alignment that we've been talking about. So it'll be partially. So what that means is currently if a full-time faculty member, if their load to receive their 9-month contract pay is 18 contact hours, they will now go to 17 to receive the pay. So 17 contact hours will be their load now rather than 18. So that's a partial move toward our goal. If faculty are teaching based off of lecture equated hours, that's 15, that remains 15. So I did want to point out that one change from what we had presented to you in the workshop.
Regents, if I may comment on this piece, there was approximately in our original version of the budget, there was about $1.25 million in for this increment that would have brought the equity to those amounts of hours. And we took it out completely, as Ms. McDonald is saying, but I want to thank the team for scrubbing and re-scrubbing and finding an amount that is, they're serious dollars, but it's more nominal relative they're nominal in the sense that it is only a beginning of some steps that you'll be hearing about, that we'll be taking and proposing to future budgets as we move ahead. It's a total amount that probably is closer to about $3.5 million. That's what we're working toward. But the 400,000 are again serious and considerable dollars that will be paid out to the faculty as a percentage of this effort. So you'll be hearing more about this as we move ahead, as we bring equated or equity to the loads that are out there that the faculty are teaching. Again, this is a long-standing issue that goes back 20 plus years ago, and this is an effort to course correct that for the future, and a step in the right direction. And again, I want to thank the team for scrubbing out those dollars and putting this together. Any questions?
So we continue with the adjunct, which also our overload is paid off of that rate schedule, a 3% increase to the schedule, and our exempt 3% increase, non-exempt 3% increase, and then also our non-exempt part-time, which we've explained what category that falls in, is a 3% for those. And then this is for anyone who meets the eligibility for an increase. So if you're staff, then you have to have been hired by May 1st and have a positive performance evaluation. If it's faculty, to get the year experience pay, you have to be hired by October 1st of last year. So that's the eligibility requirements. So this has shifted a bit since we reviewed this at the last workshop, now that we are moving more to actual numbers, and also, as Dr. Escamilla, I'll use his words, we have scrubbed positions and dollars and found some things that might have been duplicated. So as we move through that process, the big shift, you'll notice the vacancy factor or the variance has shifted. So like I've explained before, at any given day, that variance or vacancy can shift. It just depends on what time of year it is, how hiring processes work. So overall, it provides for the increases that we've discussed prior on the option 3. And then, like I said, the vacancy variance has been shifted from different categories. So any questions on this slide? I think Ms. Slater is going to come up and talk about the non-salary expenses. Any questions on salaries? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. So for our non-salary expenses, we're still looking at that $1.2 million in reduction due to the state reduction, increase in our contingency by $39,000, bringing our proposed expense budget to $136.3 million, which is that 2% increase. So now we'll go into the proposed expense budget into those categories that we show on the income statement. So for salary and benefits, Ms. McDonald just discussed those changes. So we are proposing an increase of $3.9 million, bringing our salary and benefit budget up to $99.3 million. For non-salary, we have those adjustments that we discussed at our last meeting in order to balance the state's funding reduction. So for supplies, postage, duplicating, and copier rental, we are still decreasing that by $150,000. And then we're looking to add $299,000 to maintenance and repairs, and that's to enhance safety across all of our campuses and maintain our existing equipment. For equipment, we are reducing by $1.2 million. That's that $610,000 for computers that we ordered this year. We already received them. And then the $650,000 for instructional equipment purchases that we're going to defer into next year. And we are planning on putting this money back into the budget next year. To further balance the budget against the state reduction, we are decreasing our student recruiting and marketing by $150,000, and then contract labor and consultants by $94,000. So additional reductions to help balance the budget against the state funding decrease include the $25,000 in membership and dues. And again, we've been fortunate with our insurance premium that has decreased again this year. So we were able to reallocate that $360,000 to other priorities and needs. To issue the $48.3 million in maintenance tax notes to address our deferred maintenance needs, we are proposing an increase of $1.8 million in our tuition bond transfer category and reallocating that $1.4 million in deferred maintenance to help offset that cost. So finally, we're increasing our contingency by that $39,000 to meet that 1.5% requirement by board policy, and this brings our total proposed expense budget up to the $136.3 million, which again is that 2% increase. Are there any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Notice you haven't budgeted anything for an election. I guess you're pretty optimistic that we're not going to have any challenges?
We have existing funds that we weren't going to build into the budget next year. Should there be a need for one, we would pull out of carryover from the previous year for a one-time cost.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for our proposed debt service budget, we are proposing a decrease of $4.3 million. With the 2 bonds that rolled off and refunding our existing bonds, our debt service requirement has dropped down to $16.3 million. And that concludes the presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Regent Loeb?
I have a question on the reduction. The state, I guess that is the effect of the state passing that exemption for personal property for businesses. Do you know, did the appraisal district handle that where people had to apply for it, or did they just automatically assign it to everybody who had personal property? The reason I ask is I want to know is this the first year of that where people applied and then maybe next year there's people that didn't apply and we're going to have that, over a series of years, or is that done?
Okay, I'm not sure, but I can find out for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? So we have an order before us in terms presented as a resolution that we would hold a public hearing, conduct a meeting and public hearing on Tuesday, August 25th at 11:30 a.m. at the Center for Economic Development for the budget and the debts for the maintenance and operations budget and the debt service budget. Is there a motion to adopt the order as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Second by Dr. Babley. Any discussion on that motion? Is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. I need to do a roll call vote. Ms. Pettis, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Adame?
Yes.
Ms. Averett?
Yes.
Dr. Babley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Gaxa?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes. Thank you. That motion passes unanimously. So item number 10 is similar, but we actually have a separate action item to conduct a public hearing on the 2026-27 tax rates. Mr. Garcia.
Yes. So this action requests the board approval to conduct a public hearing required under Chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code for the purpose of operating and maintenance tax rate and a debt service tax rate. This represents the next step in the college's budget and tax rate adoption process. Upon board approval, the college will publish the notice of the public hearing through the college's website and the Corpus Christi Caller-Times as required by law. The notice will inform the public that the hearing is scheduled for August 25th, 2026 at 12 p.m. at the Center for Economic Development. The proposed tax rates are based on the budget and tax information just presented.
Thank you. So we have the same thing. We have an order in front of us.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If the tax rates are the same, how does it represent a 0.3% increase in the tax rate?
I'll rely on my colleague on that one.
The 0.3% is based off of the no new revenue rate. So remember that no new revenue rate changes every year depending on what the value of last year's valuation was as of this year. So it's off the no new revenue rate.
Okay, so that's not really an increase in the tax rate.
Right.
It's the no new revenue rate.
Correct. It's the increase over the total no new revenue rate.
Okay, and that does not trigger any special...
No, sir. As long as we stay under the 8%.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I do think the decimal place in that is really important because it is 0.3%, not 30%. So yeah, we have to be very clear on that, 0.3%. Any other questions on the order that again is presented in resolution form? Motion to approve? Dr. Babley makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Krul. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Dr. Turner? Yes. Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Garza?
Yes.
Mr. Krul?
Yes.
Dr. Babley?
Yes.
Ms. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Adame?
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you all very
you.
much for your work. And we do appreciate, Ms. Pettis provided us answers to some of the questions we had during our workshop session a couple of weeks ago, so we appreciate everybody bringing those answers forward separately as well. So thank you all for that work. Next is the discussion and possible action related to revisions to our board policy B4.37, the tax increment reinvestment zone policy. Ms. Jessica Pettis has been staffing that work and is going to make the presentation, and then we'll call upon the members of that task force to provide any color commentary they would like.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Regents, and Dr. Escamilla. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the TERS Task Force for the work over the last several months by meeting and discussing revisions to this policy. It was filled with good conversation and discussion on how this policy should be revised, and I appreciate the work that the group did. The task force consisted of Regents Kroll, Kelly, Regent Loeb, and Regent Garza, as well as Dr. Escamilla, Mr. Rivera, and with the support of Ms. Delia Perez. So the proposed revisions that are in front of you have also been reviewed by General Counsel Mr. Rivera, and also through external legal counsel by Mr. Kabi Caputo from Bickerstaff. So since February, the TERS Task Force has been working through a comprehensive review of our current TERS policy, which is B4.37. The task force reviewed our existing policy, the requirements of Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, and our current processes for evaluating any kind of TERS participation. The goal was not simply to update the policy, but to establish a stronger framework for the district when we are considering participation in a TERS for the best interests of the college and our taxpayers. So I'm not going to go over the entire revisions since they have been sent prior or in the packet, but I just want to highlight on several of the key areas that have been revised in the current policy. First and foremost, we are strengthening the board's role under this policy. The revised policy provides for early coordination with the city or county when a TERS is being considered. This also gives the district an opportunity to be involved in those discussions beforehand about any proposed project or the project plan, financing structure, and any kind of potential impact to the college. Importantly, it's important to note that the early discussions don't commit the college to participate, but if we should choose to participate, any formal participation still requires board approval and a written participation agreement, so that does not change that. Another section that I want to highlight is we have established clear financial expectations under these revisions. Before the college commits to tax revenues to a TERS, the policy will require us to look at the expected increase in taxable value, the fiscal impact to the college or to the district, the private investments being leveraged in the project, and the overall benefit to the community and to the college as a whole. The policy also requires a financial impact analysis with sufficient detail for administration to evaluate independently any of the financial information provided by any of the applicants or the proposer on a TERS. Next area I want to highlight is we have included revisions to strengthen performance and accountability within this policy. Revisions of the policy currently establish an initial participation term of no more than 10 years. That's traditionally what we've allowed under previous TERS projects. At or before the end of that initial term, revisions include provisions in there for the district to review the performance of a TERS. And any participation beyond that initial term of 10 years requires board reapproval, with consideration given to project benchmarks, financial performance, measurable community benefit, and continued alignment with our mission and priorities from the college. Total participation is limited to 20 years unless otherwise approved by the board. So it does give the avenue for renewal and reapproval of those TERS projects. We are also placing a greater emphasis on the type and quality of development that's being supported on a TERS project. The revised evaluation criteria expresses a preference for redevelopment, revitalization, infill development, brownfield projects and infrastructure improvements over greenfield development on previously undeveloped property. We're also looking at whether the benefit to the district is proportional to the level of participation that we are being asked to commit over the term. And then also we have strengthened the ongoing oversight of TERS projects. So the policy will require annual reporting on the tax increment fund, a project status and updated increment projections. And it also provides provisions in there for ongoing monitoring and compliance and performance checks for the TERS. So that way, when it is brought back to the board for consideration of a possible renewal of the term or any changes to the project or financing plan, we have sufficient information and we're monitoring the project as it goes along. Overall, the revisions as a whole give the district a more deliberate and structured process for considering any type of TERS participation. They provide the board with the opportunity to be involved earlier, strengthen our financial review, establish clearer performance expectations, and provide additional protections for the college and for our taxpayers as well. So you will see in front of you is a red line version of the current policy B4.37. The items in blue are new language, and the items that are in red crossed out is language that has been removed. And so I am happy to answer any questions regarding this revisions, if you do have any, or any input from the other task force members as well.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Ms. Pettis. And I want to thank the members of the task force for your time and effort. I know you have some special expertise because of your previous service on City Council in establishing TERS, and so really appreciate you lending that expertise to this project as well. Do you have any comments, Mr. Loeb, Mr. Garza, Mr. Krull? Well, your previous experience with the city and all that entails. Thank you, Mr. Krull, for that correction. Do you have any comments related to the work that Mr. Loeb?
Carl doesn't want to claim that alumni status this week, which I understand. I want to thank you, Chair Scott, for setting this up. You know, I think we've had this rolling discussion as things come in, and I think you correctly determined that we needed to have the discussion and really reset this. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. You know, I think it still has some flexibility if something comes in that we didn't think about, that we as a board or a future board can consider everything. But I think the ability to go and engage with the city or county while, previous to them voting, I think will help a lot, because I think we've had these circumstances where something gets done over there and then it comes to us and we haven't had the communication. And so I think all around, I think it will be helpful, and it'll lower the amount of staff time that we consume on considering these and telling people what we really want. And, we can hand it to them and say, this is what we want. And, I think there's a movement from, I've heard from Westside Business Association that they're interested in having somebody start a TERS or setting one up on the west side, and I think that's kind of, in our discussions, the sort of thing that we've been more interested in participating in than others. So I think this is a good policy. I do want to say, when we pass it, I think we need to get it to the county and the city so they're aware of where we are on this. But just again, thank you for setting it up this way. I think this is a great example of how, when we have, challenges, we go and we meet and we sort them out. And so thank you for the opportunity to work on this.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Pettis or for the committee? A question for Dr. Escamilla. So as the new TERS benchmarks and financial accountability and other things lay out, I know that everything runs through you as the CEO, but do you have a sense of how you're going to organize the college's work around TERS and where that might sit?
So yes, in fact, I just set up an appointment with Mrs. Pettis to meet, and I said, what did I say, in the next few days or those kinds of things, maybe as soon as this week. So we're going to meet with Ms. McDonald, Ms. Pettis, and begin aligning those activities so that we do have a structure that I'm going to say is going to be better than anything else around. But that being said, we'll give you another update in about a month or so. Maybe by October at the latest, we can come back and give you that structure. But we were just talking about that right after lunch.
Sure.
So that's my best answer at this moment, Madam Chair, but more to come.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Is there a motion to adopt the new policy as presented? Thank you, Dr. Babley. Is there a second? Mr. Krull? Is there any public comment on this item? Yes, please come forward. Thought I saw you come in, Ms. Madrano.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Dr. Escamilla, Mr. Rivera. Arlene Madrano, Executive Director of the Corpus Christi Downtown Management District. And I just want to share how encouraged I was to see the revisions to the policy. And I know this isn't a commitment to participate in the renewal of the downtown TERS number 3, but I was very encouraged to see the changes to policy that potentially open the door to having Del Mar renew their participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. With no other public comment, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, I just want to ask
Yes.
for clarification on effective date for the policy.
I would think it's effective upon action today. Yeah.
5 seconds ago.
You what? You agree? You concur? And I would ask that with the adoption of this, Dr. Escamilla, that you and your staff formally communicate the new policy to the city and the county, as Mr. Loeb suggested. I think that would make sense to make sure it gets in their hands.
We're all on the same page. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your hard work on this.
Yes, ma'am, my pleasure.
Oh, and you're staying put because
Yes,
the
ma'am.
next item is, item number 12 is discussion and possible action related to the order to call for an election if needed. We're calling for an election.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. So as part of the election process, it's customary that the college approves the orders to call for the general election. The orders that you have before you for approval and for signature will call for the general election taking place November 3rd, 2026. That is the first Tuesday of November. On this year's ballot, we have 3 positions that will be listed, which are a single member district position for District 4 and 2 at-large regent positions as well. Election packets were made available and filing for placement on the ballot began at 7:30 a.m. on July 20th. And packets will continue to be available on the Del Mar College Board of Regents webpage and also on campus in the Office of Risk Management and Del Mar College Heritage Campus Memorial Classroom Building. The filing deadline for all potential Board of Regents candidates is Monday, 5 o'clock, August 17th, which is coming up pretty soon. And we also make a note of the upcoming election voting, early voting dates for you, which early voting begins October 19th. Early voting ends October 30th with a general election in Election Day, November 3rd.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rivera, do we need to read the entire resolution out loud? Thank you. So we do have an order calling for the Del Mar College election that is included in your packet. So is there a motion to approve the order calling for the Regents election? Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Second by Dr. Babbly. Any questions on that order? Is there any? Okay. Is there any public comment on that item? Seeing none, Ms. Pettis will do a roll call vote.
Dr. Adame.
Yes.
Ms. Averett.
Yes.
Dr. Babbly.
Yes.
Mr. Kroll. Yes. Mr. Garza.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lowe.
Yes.
Ms. Scott.
Yes.
Dr. Turner.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, the board will now go into closed session under Texas Government Code 551.071 regarding consultation with legal counsel, Texas Government Code 551.08 deliberation regarding economic development, and 551.074 personnel matters. The time is 1:45 p.m. Who support our students through that manner. So it's great for the Board of Regents to participate in that event as well. So with no further business, we will adjourn this meeting at 2:43 p.m. Thank you all.